Otaku, place the third generation VHS tape in the machine and flip over to subs, not dubs, because it's time for an all-new Destroy All clickbait full of giant eyes and sailor suits. Senpai notices you! I'm Ing, that's Avi, and that is Adam-san. And, yeah.
Adam-chan.
Chan. Adam Chan and Avi Chin.
Well, the reason we're doing all this absolute nonsense, which only about 50% of which I understand, is because the big news that came down the pike is that Netflix will be streaming Neon Genesis Evangelion, the seminal anime series. In 2019.
We're going to jump straight into anime news.
Big anime news.
Anime news.
So, yes, Netflix has announced that they're going to be streaming Neon Genesis Evangelion, which seems to
Sega
me...
Genesis Evangelion.
Evangelion, excuse me. See, I don't know how to pronounce it. But Evangelion is something that people seem to like a lot, or at least they care passionately about it. I can't figure out if they actually like it. Literally, all I know about it is that it's about
that actually describes its fan base pretty well.
Yeah.
Well, I just know it's about people climbing into giant robot suits and doing battle with... I don't even know what they do battle with. Do they do battle with each other?
Angels.
Angels.
They're called angels.
The robots are called angels, or the things they do battle with are called angels?
The things they do battle with are called angels.
Adam, how long do you have?
Well, I was saying...
It's about the end of the world, okay?
All right.
There's a lot of biblical symbolism in this, and apparently the creator has gone on record saying that had they known that this series would be more popular in the United States, they wouldn't have put quite so much Christian symbolism in the series. Which says a lot.
Wait, so they wouldn't have because they thought it was offensive to Americans? Is that what he's saying?
I think his initial thought putting in, because you actually find this a lot in certain 90s anime where they'll just stick random Christian symbolism in because they think it's cool, the way that some American writers will just suddenly start writing about quote-unquote foreign things because they think it's cool, even though they don't really know a whole lot about it.
Okay.
It's kind of like that, except it's the Japanese version and it's with Christianity. They actually did do this a lot. Sailor Moon has an entire arc about finding the holy items and the Holy Grail and finding the Messiah. That's an entire season of Sailor Moon.
Okay.
And it's just there. Nobody knows why, but it's there. So it's actually not that surprising that is the case, and so I don't know what they would have done without all of the Christian symbolism that's in the series, but there's a lot of Christian symbolism in the series.
Well,
yeah, it is very much the opposite of Orientalism, I guess Occidentalism, where stuff is picked because it would be kind of looks cool and exotic to the culture making it. For added reference. Reference there, that's why the title of the series is absolute gibberish. It's mispronunciation / translation attempting to get a Latin phrase.
I see. Neon.
Yeah.
Well, so wait a minute. If it's Occidentalism, is that like how we always joke with the joke with Daredevil is that, he's attacked by ninjas in the middle of New York, and that the reverse equivalent of that would be if somebody was investigating an American company in Tokyo and they were attacked by cowboys?
Yes.
Yep, basically.
Okay, what I love about that is that that's completely plausible in the context of Daredevil, since it's the Marvel Universe, and Kingpin literally had a group of thugs called the Enforcers that was led by a cowboy.
Okay.
Oh, God.
With a laser...
Oh, that's great.
With a taser lasso and everything.
That is great.
It's fine. You've watched one episode of Samurai Champloo.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly. There's my knowledge. That's my info on anime. And I think I saw Robotech once when I was a kid. I think that was on TV once. I used to like Voltron when I was a kid. That was the other anime series. But that's about it for knowledge of anime series. And Spirited, like Miyazaki. I've seen that. But,
Miyazaki, which... is anime, but like I think the American pop culture osmosis has sort of turned it into not anime because that's just Ghibli somehow.
Right.
The sort of comparison I'd say is like most anime or and manga, since the industries are closely related, people would think of being on a sort of artistic kind of equivalent to like Stan Lee and Jack Kirby and Ditko. And that sort of the view, whereas Miyazaki kinda has an equivalent view of being akin to, like, Walt Disney.
Right.
Yeah.
He gets compared to Walt Disney a lot. I know, he does. The Walt Disney of Japan, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Well, Tezuka also gets that a lot, mostly because he basically started the industry.
Right.
So, I
actually
don't know
know.
if we,
there you go. Yes.
I don't know if we have a modern equivalent to that yet for Miyazaki in that sense, and Walt Disney is probably the closest for a lot of people in terms of the kind of thing that Miyazaki did.
Except Miyazaki actually makes his own animation, unlike Walt Disney, who just basically took all the credit for it. Sorry, no, I'm not sorry.
I know, but in the sense of that, it's somebody that has like comes off as auteur-esque.
Right.
Yeah,
for a
like
project.
there is a very specific vision that is associated with those people.
Right.
Which you don't always get in anime at all.
Yeah.
So
Well, it just seems like there's such a wild variety of stuff in anime. You've got Miyazaki, and then you've got like porno, and then you've got like just completely insane like metaphysical discussions about like the apocalypse and philosophy,
and the same
stuff.
artist can have in their career worked on all three.
Yep.
No, because it's
very
also
easily.
It's very common for manga artists, especially, to start out in order to make the bills effectively. And Adam, I'm sure this is nothing that us Western artists can sympathize with or associate with, but of doing basically a filthy comics in order to pay the bills while they're basically shipping around their actual story ideas to publishers before they actually get a publisher. That's a way you make money as an artist.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think Clamp, who is still probably one of the most well-known circles of mangaka, they're technically independently done. They're not published through any of the big magazines, so it's not as though it's impossible for those independent artists in Japan at least to rise to that level. It's just it takes a lot of work and a constant stream of work, which is basically what Clamp has been doing since like the late 80s. The 80s, I think they started in the 80s. They had as many as 20 members at one point, and now they're just down to 5, pretty much making everything. So,
remembering from my first watch through, you're basically thrown in kind of almost medias res into this setting that apparently has had some catastrophe happen to it that has killed off a significant portion of the population, referred to as second impact. Avi, please correct me when I inevitably get something wrong.
I'm a little fuzzy on details, but so far everything sounds right.
The main protagonist, which is a high schooler absolute loser called Shinji, it is effectively dragooned into piloting a giant biomechanical exosuit called an Evangelion, or an Eva.
Okay.
To fight these invading creatures that are called angels.
Okay.
That are protected by some sort of biofield, so conventional weapons are less effective against them. Hence, they need to have a giant robot punch them.
Okay, so there's a logic to it, okay.
Now,
yes.
You may be asking, why are they getting teenagers to pilot these things? If I remember it correctly, it's because the Evangelions are partially made from the child's mother's ghost or something, and I'm getting immediately corrected in chat.
It has well, no, you're not. It has something to do with their date of birth. I know that. Their date of birth is a factor in it.
Okay.
Data!
Yeah.
Okay, date of birth, this is a slight spoiler, Shinji's robot is also the ghost of his mother, and people need some sort of, spiritual or emotional connection to whatever kind of ghost or whatever is making these things go, or that they take a ghost. Okay, you take a ghost and you use it as like an engine block, and people who are close to the ghost in life are able to sync up and work these things.
They have to be drift compatible.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay. So that's kind of like the idea that Pacific Rim worked with. Clearly less complex.
Right.
Yeah.
Originally, the Eva was populated by someone called Rei, who we find out later is a clone of Shinji's mother, and they actually tried to bypass getting Shinji to do it because Shinji is not respected by everyone, including his own father.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they just thought, hey, what's closer to someone than their own child? Clearly their own clone. That didn't work, so as in desperation they throw Shinji in it, and then they also, then later there's a German pilot called Asaka that comes in, and Asuka, and then that's that whole thing, and there might be some stuff in history where this might be one where Germans won the war, but that's not really gone into. There's a lot of imagery into Christianity and the Kabbalah. Adam and Eve.
Lot of Adam and Eve
exist in a literal sense there, including to the point where we find out a giant Lovecraftian version of Eve is actually kept in a sub-bunker of the Evangelion headquarters. There's conspiracies upon conspiracies with the people backing the project planning their own thing, and...
Okay.
And Shinji's father attempting his own thing, and in the end everyone turns into goo.
Vampiric Yoda is pointing out that it's not Eve, it's Lilith who is kept.
Who is the Eldritch Abomination.
Yes. Right.
But
okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. that's fine. Because I know that with the end of Evangelion, it's supposed to be implied that Shinji and Asuka are the new Adam and Eve.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I'm definitely.
So yeah, this is an anime about high school teenagers fighting in robot suits. Totally. That's what this is about. Yeah, a lot of things can probably be traced to this series, good and bad, including, like, whether or not Shinji is meant to be a reflection of the type of people who would be watching this anime.
Okay.
Is that what he was going for, or was he actually talking about himself, or maybe it was a little bit of both, or maybe it was neither, and he just wants to have a giant fuck you to everybody. Who knows?
For reference on where the Shinji thing might be offensive to fans... In the finale/movie, so yes, we're getting into this, Asuka is in a coma because her Evangelion was eaten by mass-produced Evangelions. Just go with it.
Yeah. It was a thing.
And while she's in a coma, Shinji masturbates over her body.
Yep. Yep.
Sadly, and then laments about how fucked up he is, and immediately slips into self-loathing.
Okay.
Yep.
And they show...
Yeah.
So this is an R-rated series then, or
you don't you don't see him doing it, but it's very clearly implied, and then you see that.
Oh my God.
I think this isn't the movie finale. So, can you tell that the creator had issues, especially going on, as apparently fans were putting a lot of stress and pressure on him, and he had a bit of a mental breakdown from it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, again...
So the idea that he then puts that in, that this is you!
Yeah.
This is what I think of you!
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
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 Fair enough.
Yeah, so...
Okay. Well, I went from, over the course of this, from, well, I guess I've got to see this, too. Maybe I don't need to see this at all.
Well, okay, that's the end of Evangelion. That's not in the actual series.
Okay.
So this is in the first movie.
Uh-huh.
And then I forget what Evangelion Death True Type 2 is.
And isn't there, I almost said fuck it, I'll just refer to it Ghost in the Circles. Ghost in the Shelters Evangelion third gig.
Okay.
So here's the prop. Okay, so here's where it gets more complex. I mentioned that the creator had a mental breakdown.
Yes.
Yeah.
My criticism of Evangelion, and I think this is one that may seem controversial, but I can make a good case for it, and I think even a lot of fans will agree, is that it is basically a series that was never finished because of said breakdown.
Yeah, like I was telling you before, Adam, you can kind of see it as the series is progressing because there's more pressure being placed on the animators as it's going on.
The movie is an attempt to bring some sense of closure. It is very strange. Okay. And then there have actually been several attempts to remake it and effectively go through and actually tell the story now that the creator's in a more stable place.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's a new character called Mari who was there previously, and I'm not entirely sure what her purpose is.
Yeah, I talked about the ending films, but then they did Rebuild and everything, which was an attempt to redo the series, presumably with like the actual stuff from the end films. And dear God, this is absolute nonsense. Miyazaki was right. Anime is a mistake.
I strongly feel that this is an affront to life itself.
Honestly, given the way the end of Evangelion begins, I kind of feel like the creator sort of felt that way as well. Like, oh god, this was a mistake.
Yeah.
This is how I'm going to tell you all that it was a mistake. I'm literally going to have the fanboy avatar of everyone masturbate in front of a teenage girl while she's in a coma.
I haven't seen this, but I get it. I get the point that is being made there from what you're describing. So
Evangelion has a kind of complicated thing, because even if you're like me and wouldn't exactly say you're a fan of it, it has so many things, especially early on, that it does right with imagery and sort of artistic direction and style, that it is kind of impossible for it not to have an impact on later things.
Okay. Vampiric Yoda, just wanted to mention, Vampiric Yoda's pointing out that apparently Robin Williams was a huge Neon Genesis Neon Genesis Evangelion.
You can just call it Eva, that's fine.
Eva! Yeah. He was a big Eva fan, and apparently there's lots of references in his work, and he wanted to make a movie of it, and I don't know how that... Last week we were talking about Robin Williams and Watchmen, so Robin Williams and Neon...
Honestly, I kind of think Robin Williams would be an amazing Gendo.
Holy fucking Christ, we were robbed. I'm sorry, like, my immediate response to
an
Evangelion live action is there's no need to do live action with an American cast with Robin Williams as Gendo. Yes, sir! Take my money! Holy shit!
I don't even know the context of that. It's making me laugh. Like, I don't know who Gendo is, so I can't compare him to Robin
Gendo
Williams,
is the guy with the glasses.
The guy with the glasses. So he's a sinister overlord guy or something.
He's basically an asshole, but because we said before, because Robin Williams as a dramatic actor knows how to do the physicality really well, he would just get Gendo so well that it would kind of be perfect. Even if the rest of the film was shit, it would be one of those movies that would be worth it just to watch Robin Williams as Gendo.
Yeah, Robin Williams has actually put a lot of anime references into his movies.
Right.
I think Escaflowne, for example, is referenced in one of my favorite underrated Robin Williams movies, which is 1 Hour Photo.
Right. No, I thought that was also Evangelion that he referenced in that one. But I know he picks up the toy and he says Neon Genesis Evangelion or something.
Oh shit, you're right.
Yeah.
Fuck.
But yeah, 1 Hour Photo.
Damn, I misremembered that and it says an Escaflowne figure. Well, fuck me.
Yeah, it's fine.
Huh?
It's fine.
Yeah, I think that might be a directly one. That movie is... No one else seems to remember it, but I absolutely loved it because it's Robin Williams playing a stalker.
Right. No, I've seen. Yeah, it's a really good movie. It's him. It's Robin Williams
and he does it really well.
Yeah, it's him doing Taxi Driver, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's that kind of. There was a pseudo.
We could have had him for Gendo in the dub.
I don't think they could have
They
afforded
probably
him,
just
but...
didn't. They probably just didn't want to pay for Robin Williams.
No, of course not. I don't think they could afford Robin Williams unless he offered I'll do it for free.
He might have done it for a reduced rate. It's happened.
And if they forced him to, he could have done it as a pseudonym too, for that reduced rate. Well, the rebuild.
Fuck yeah, we were robbed.
Yeah,
Guys, now I really miss Robin Williams.
Yeah. Okay. Well, perhaps it's time to move on. What should we move on to?
Yeah, we got this. This ended with a bummer.
A little bit. So do we want to talk about animals or Harry Potter?
Well, let's talk about the turkey and then the cow, because the cow is more uplifting than the turkey. The turkey is dead.
The turkey is random, let's be fair.
I kind of just want us to then move on to something unrelated, so that's just a sentence that's out there, no context, just Adam saying the turkey and the cow!
That's a dead turkey. Never mind. That's all you need to know.
Turkey and the Cow, the new buddy comedy that Adam is pitching to NBC.
Turkey and the Cow.
I mean, the best part about this particular article is that we get emails. That's the first sentence. We get emails. And apparently this one was about a mysteriously dead deceased turkey found in the middle of Pennsylvania Avenue on Wednesday morning, halfway between White House and the Capitol. Mm-hmm. It was just a dead turkey that somebody left in the middle of Pennsylvania Avenue, and somebody took a selfie with it, and it had an entire Reddit thread dedicated to it, and I think somebody put up a Facebook account and a Twitter account, because that's what you do on the internet.
I want to clarify that I think calling it a dead turkey is a bit misleading, because this is a better response is it's a raw turkey. Because this is a fully plucked and prepared turkey.
Thanksgiving turkey, yes.
Yeah, it is a Thanksgiving turkey that somebody left in the middle of Pennsylvania.
And that in and of itself
was not cleaned up for like a week.
Yeah. Well, that in itself is not noteworthy. It's the fact that it apparently got a Twitter feed to itself and became people were breathlessly watching this unfold on social media, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
An entire
I mean,
Reddit
when
thread.
you have an entire Reddit thread dedicated to you.
Well, that's like...
I'm sorry, one sentence that I have to point there is that said that somebody lay down next to the turkey, again, in the middle of the street to take a selfie. And then the next sentence is, predictably, the turkey got its own Facebook group and Twitter account. No, I want to contest that. Predictably is the last term I would use with the phrase, the turkey got its own Facebook group.
Yep.
Well, I mean, the Black Squirrel in Princeton has its own Facebook account.
Well, in
now
Toronto,
I have to check and see if the Pizza Rat has a Facebook account or if a Graven Chester.
Oh, it definitely does. It definitely does.
Well,
probably has 5.
Everyone loves the Pizza Rat. There's the Pizza Rat. There's the Coat Monkey. There's the Crow with the Knife. There's the crab.
And then there's the raw turkey.
Smoking crab. Yeah, there's a smoking crab.
And now there's the raw turkey.
There's the raw turkey. They all have their own thing. And there's the giant cow. That's a minor note, but we can jump right to the giant cow, which I love.
Yeah, in terms of clickbait, that's kind of short one. Dead turkey. There weren't one.
Yeah.
There weren't a turkey in the middle of the road.
There sure wasn't.
It's day 5 of my time on Pennsylvania Avenue. I've survived the street cleaner this morning. DC street turkey.
Continuing to decompose.
Oh my god, but it disappeared on Tuesday, so somebody cleaned it up. Here's a good question. Do you think that it was like an official cleanup where somebody, like, it got sucked up by a street sweeper, or do you think somebody went there and was going, It's a little dirty, but I reckon it's still good. I took it home and cooked it.
Well,
Who the fuck knows?
You know all those.
Gave me like hell, but we ate it.
Yes, it was. I believe it was Mitch McConnell who ate it. Probably that's how he gets.
I don't know about in D.C., but in my home state, if you hit a turkey carcass with your car, you get to keep it.
That's how we got all our Thanksgivings back in my home state.
We would drop
of Oregon. Yeah.
Sometimes we'd have to do 2-3 passes through the turkey farm before we hit one that we could claim, but damn it, we did it.
There are wild turkeys, though.
Remember the one time I had to chase a Thanksgiving in my Chevy right through the Confederate cemetery.
Oh my god.
Hit a gravestone, busted up my bumper real damn good. Never did catch that turkey.
He's still out there taunting me, that turkey from the Confederate graveyard. He goes, at night I can hear his haunting cry.
I know it's ghost to laugh at your own jokes, but I am very much enjoying the idea of somebody chasing in their car a turkey through the Confederate War museums, swerving in between tombstones trying to hit a turkey.
Yeah.
That turkey will have the last laugh when he runs into when it falls into an open grave, the car, and can't get out. That's how the turkey had its revenge. This is for all my brothers!
No. Oh no, then it ends with the turkey stuck in the open grave, and the guy has his car, like, after getting it in reverse, like, all banged up with the bumper, but it's aimed right at the empty grave, and then it's just a game of cat and mouse waiting to see who will give up first. He can't get the turkey while it's in the hole, but if the turkey flies out of the hole, it's dead. And then they just have to wait to see who will blink first. It's, if you forgive the term, a game of chicken.
Oh, jeez. Now on to cows.
On to cows. Well, there's a big cow.
It's a big cow.
It's a big cow in Australia.
This cow's a big boy.
It's an absolute unit.
Yup. Its name is Knickers.
Knickers the cow, who is like twice as big as all the other cows it's surrounded by. It's a different breed, clearly. But nevertheless, it's 194 centimeters tall and weighs 1.4 tons. It's a Holstein Friesian.
It's so big that they can't put it through the processing facility.
Right.
So they're gonna keep it forever until it dies of natural causes.
It's going to become a tourist cow, a monument, a tourist monument to this one farm. Mm-hmm. It is a little insane how much bigger this cow is than all the other cows.
Yeah, just looking at the picture of it next to other cows, it's like...
Yeah. It looks like it's surrounded by dogs, and then you realize, no, those are other cows.
Yeah,
it's like when Shaquille O'Neal went on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart, and Jon Stewart stood next to him, and like that's the size difference we're getting at here.
And
this is an impossibly big cow.
Yes.
Yeah, like...
I wonder, how did they...
Okay, this cow is 6.5 feet tall.
It's not even the biggest cow, because apparently there was a bigger one in...
Well, why the fuck are we talking about this cow if it's not the biggest, then?
It's still pretty fucking big. The biggest one is 202 centimeters.
It's the biggest cow in Australia. And now you're making me think of the Simpsons bit where Homer goes, "Can I have one of those giant beers?" So the guy pulls out this giant beer, and Homer's like, that's pretty big,
yeah.
I guess.
How big did you say this cow is? Because the biggest one is 6.6 feet.
Okay, so it's an inch taller.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, all right, Knickers. I mean, I guess if Knickers kind of like springs up a bit on their hooves, gets a bit on tiptoes, they can be as big as the tallest. You know, they can.
As Bellino.
I have a slight suspicion that Bellino is no longer with us, and they're just mentioning that was the tallest cow ever recorded. In which case, Knickers would still be remarkable in that he's the tallest steer alive. Right?
Well, with this phrasing, it says the tallest steer on the planet can be found in Italy.
Yeah, but
So that's a suggestion that it might be alive unless they taxidermied it. But
yeah, well, that would make sense.
So,
yes.
Yeah,
but
it's pretty freaking tall cow.
It's a tall cow.
Because they measure from bottom of the foot to the shoulder, right? When they measure heights. So that's not even getting like that full hump that it has on its back. So this is a big cow.
I believe it's called a dewlap, but no,
dewlap.
No, I'm sorry, dewlap is under the neck. You're right. The hump is the hump.
The hump is the hump.
The cow hump. That's the tastiest part of the cow, the hump.
I wouldn't know.
Right, yes.
Yeah, although it's a little bit weird because it's also clearly a different type of cow compared to the other cows in the picture, so I'm not sure.
Yes, he was bought as a coach, explained in the article as an animal that could take charge of the herd and show them the ropes of life on the farm.
Yeah, that's an interesting little throwaway note in the article.
Yeah.
Cows are social animals. They herd there, so if you're getting like a herd of cows, it's good to have an established one to basically end up as the herd leader and like be all like, follow me, cows. This is how we herd around here. Let me show you This is how we cow.
Come on, cows. Let me show you how to cow.
You've all completed your in-processing packet. You've seen the video from HR. Okay, I'll give you some hooves-on trading now.
This green stuff
here are all the safety regulations you need to know.
This green stuff here, this is grass. You'll be eating it up to 14 hours a day. That's pretty much it. That's the job right there.
And this concludes our tour.
Go make some cow patties out there.
Yeah. That does remind me of the Far Side cartoon that always cracked me up with the cow just suddenly lifting its head and going, "Wait a minute! This is grass! We've all been eating grass!"
Is it normal that it kind of makes me a little sad that the only reason Nicker wasn't sent to the abattoir to be turned into beef is that he was literally too big to be put through the machinery?
It's a story of triumph. It's like Babe, only instead of learning to herd sheep, he just got really, really big.
It's like Charlotte's Web. Instead of Charlotte, putting in a good word for him, Babe just got so dieseled that he beat up the farmer.
Yeah, basically.
Babe
Pretty
2,
much.
The Revenge. Babe 3.
Yeah.
Charlotte's
amazing.
Web, it would just be Wilbur the pig, but rather than give a message, Charlotte just trains him like Rocky so that he can beef up so that they can't.
And there's clearly a scene in a fridge where he beats a giant piece of meat.
Yeah, well wait, what does the cow punch?
And then they just look...
Beating up the farmer. Does the cow beat up a dead human body? Is that what you were?
I guess so.
Okay, no, here what happens. It just has, like, the cow waiting politely with his little boxing hooves on, and you see, like, 3 people, like, stereotypically dressed as Italian gangsters leave, nod to the cow, and then when they go in, there's a guy hung up on a fish hook there that the cow starts boxing on.
He wandered into Goodfellas, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Hey, speaking of Charlotte's Web, how different would that movie and book have gone if instead of, like, some pig, Charlotte had instead written the message, "I am the Lord thy God, you will listen and obey"? Because I think after that, she could just, like, proclaim Wilbur the Second Coming, and he's saved. Yeah. And then the story takes a vastly different turn.
The prophecies of the pig. Nostradamus the pig. It was foretold. This has all been foretold by the spider's web.
Because I remember, it's a thing, they specifically attribute the messages to Wilbur being special, like... Like, well, shouldn't it be? Because I remember there's the line like, shouldn't that be some? Isn't special pig? Isn't it a special spider? No, the spider's just a spider. It's the pig that's special. And like, everyone seems to have bypassed the idea that they've apparently accepted that this pig has telepathic control over arachnids and perhaps other insect life.
Yeah.
And after that, after saying that now Wilbur can control and command the loyalties of the arthropod kingdom, the farmer is still going, yup, he's gonna cook up real good this winter. What the hell?
There's literally a joke. That's a joke. If you ever heard that joke about anyway, I'm not going to tell the whole joke, but it's a long shaggy bug.
Yeah.
It's like, I've accepted that this pig potentially can call down one of the plagues of Egypt upon my farm, but I'm still planning on eating him.
Yeah.
Well, she just didn't.
Nobody ever said humans were smart, so
they didn't. And once they've made 4 messages about how great the pig is, then they're gonna stop eating it.
This farmer was like at 3 messages. Okay, if there's one more, I ain't gonna eat him. It's like literally, all right. If he wins the blue ribbon, maybe. Then maybe we won't eat him.
This telepathic pig, maybe too good.
This pig that I have to accept has command over other forms of life and some sort of mystical supernatural powers, or that God himself is communicating the specialness of this pig. I need it to at least take home an honorable mention at the fair.
It's like, and this goose, it lays golden eggs. I bet it's going to be extra delicious. I have an enchanted farm, but nothing can go wrong. I'm sure there's nothing to be learned from this experience.
Definitely not. Nope.
This farmer has accidentally eaten like 13 mystical animals.
Probably.
Like, he's gone through the whole Chinese zodiac somehow of animals with amazing powers, and he's just, well, better eat them.
Oh, God.
We sent down all those mystical animals to save humanity. How are they doing?
After I lost my hand in the wheat thresher accident, why, that dumb there cow just licked the stump and it grew right back. I'll tell you, that's some cow, and he's sure fried up real good as burgers.
Yep.
Sounds legit.
It's the whole, wow, there's a whole Christian metaphor there in the form of farm animals, basically.
Oh.
We sent my only begotten cow and you killed him.
For food.
God's just up in heaven looking down. I don't know how many miracle animals I need to send this guy before he's got the idea. At this point, I'm just throwing livestock. I'm just throwing, like, legendarily empowered livestock at him out of curiosity to see which ones he'll eat.
Indeed. His babe spiders.
I mean, after he ate the chicken that could cure cancer, I'm not sure what to do with him.
Jesus.
Humanity is doomed, that's what it means.
And it's all because of that one farmer. We were fine. It was just that one farmer who kept getting all the good luck. And he blew it. Anyway.
If that farmer was the protagonist in the movie The Witch, there would be no issue because he'd have already eaten Black Phillip ages ago.
What happened to the devil? Well, I ate him. Now there's no more evil in the world because
there used to be a goat that was talking to my children. That's interesting. Well, who wants some mutton?
Oh, God.
I'm feeling like gyro for lunch. I don't know about you.
It's satanically delicious. It wanted to live deliciously. I wanted to eat it deliciously.
You know what would go great with this goat? Some butter.
Anyway.
Oh my God, literally, holy cow.
Well done. Well done, Ing. Well done. Way to put a button on that. I applaud you. All right, let's move on to Harry Potter now. So we got we got an article that just popped up today that was, and it wasn't so much the content of the article, it was the headline, because the headline is, Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald is the franchise's Attack of the Clones, when it should be The Last Jedi. And as soon as I saw that, I was laughing my head off, because, and sure enough, there were a million responses to this guy going, oh, this guy thinks The Last Jedi is good. Well, I can safely ignore his opinion. Because, of course, The Last Jedi has become this enormous flashpoint for weirdo internet losers. The other
Pretty
kind.
much.
Not the good kind like us, but the bad kind of weirdo internet
Also,
losers.
I just want to point out that, boy, that headline is like some real-life Darmok shit, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's super fucking long.
Because, no, it's like, just like, realize that, you know, I understand what that headline is saying exactly. Anybody outside of our culture would just go, what the hell? What are you talking
Aliens
about?
saw that, they would not understand what's going on.
Grindelwald,
It's some
his
real
crimes.
Darmok and Gerald thing.
Grindelwald, his crimes when the clones attacked.
Johnny Depp looks like he should be the villain on a Frozen on Ice adaptation.
Well, yeah, but also he technically should be because he's Wizard Hitler.
Yeah.
He's
Or
the early edition of Wizard Hitler.
Or, of course, you know, to use the more concise and appropriate term, Whitler.
Whitler. He's the first Whitler, and Voldemort is the second Whitler,
Hitzard.
according to this to this franchise. So, like, he's supposed to look evil, but it's.
Well,
yeah.
he looks like Johnny Depp, who is evil in real life, so that kind of sounds
Oh yes, that is true.
He
That
doesn't.
is true.
This is gonna sound really weird. He doesn't look like a Harry Potter character to me.
No,
Like I said,
he looks like an anime character.
Or yeah, he looks like he should be the villain of like some Disney on Ice adaptation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, this is the pick that you get for, like, this is somebody who's plotting to kill Mickey Mouse there, and we need all the Disney stars to come out and sing their best musical numbers choreographed on ice to defeat him.
Like he's the secret boss of Kingdom Hearts or something, right? That's what he looks like.
I'm occasionally tempted when I'm scrolling past Netflix because they have that Fantastic Beasts movie on there. But I mean, I lost most of my interest in Harry Potter ages ago, what little I had. And but whenever somebody describes the plot of these new ones to me, I'm just like, what? He's Wizard Hitler and he's Dumbledore's boyfriend at the same time?
He's established in the last book of Harry Potter as being is basically being a precursor to Voldemort, but he didn't actually get to go through with his plans because he was stopped by Dumbledore, who is implied to have been very good friends with him, and there's a lot of subtext in there that they were actually...
Right.
Which is sort of weird when you think about it, that it's like almost saying, it's like, oh, so I'm sorry, but what, by the presumption that there cannot be two gay wizards who know each other without the presumptions that they have been in a relationship? in the romantic sense, I feel that this is a bit presumptuous to you. You know, it's not like that any gays who are friends have been like had been in some sort of romantic or sexual liaison.
It should be noted that when this information came out, a lot of people were mad that Dumbledore was gay. Not because Dumbledore was gay, because there was definitely people who were mad about that. But they were mad that the first gay person, officially gay person in the series, ended up being the not hot person, being somebody who wasn't physically attractive.
Well, and then the complaint I heard is like, okay, he could be gay. Like, we're happy he's gay. Why does the person he ends up being gay with be Wizard Hitler?
Evil.
Yeah,
Hitler,
like that's not a great you know.
And then we have this movie which decided to not reference that whatsoever, even though it kind of would have made sense and be a lot more okay in 2018 to reference even slightly that Dumbledore has gay leanings. But no, they're not going to do that at all.
Yeah, it really is like, you know, Rowling really just, and everyone involved, unfortunately, just they seem to really be chickening out on every turn, and not just chickening out, but chickening out in multiple ways that, like, cancel each other out in a way that, like, get in each other's way, basically.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, like, going back to the article, the main argument that they have, at least in terms, I'm not entirely sure if this movie should have been It's Last Jedi or not. That's something that's very arguable, whether or not it needed to be the case. But it is true that in a lot of ways, these prequel movies for the Harry Potter series are like the prequel movies for the Star Wars series.
Right.
Because they're expanding the universe in a way that isn't needed or makes sense.
Right. That seems to be...
And of course, in some ways, they're contracting the universe, since now everything's tied together.
Right.
So it's not, oh, here's this big universe. It's like, here's 5 guys and, like, 2 families that made everything happen.
Yeah. I'm generally, I do not like prequels, but I'm not opposed to the absolute idea of them. It's just, it's always such a... they're way, way, way harder to write than everyone seems to think they are, because you have to do it in a way that it fits with the narrative already existed. The best way to do a prequel, and I've hardly ever seen anyone even attempt this, is just to do a story that's so far from the original story. Like, they didn't need to bring in Dumbledore and these things, and I guess this guy who wrote Fantastic Beasts, who's the main character, I guess. He didn't need to be the main character. They could have just said, well, this is a story about Harry Potter wizards that was taking place, 3 generations before Harry Potter. And
that's what people going into this movie expected. It's a movie about just some guy who likes monsters.
Right.
Yeah.
The fact
like,
that it was a twist at the end that we're tying it into Gimblegorp.
Yeah.
And I don't know, his fucking quest to eat the Smurfs or whatever, and that the whole second movie is about this, is like an entire swerve into the wrong idea. We just wanted an idea of this strange guy who keeps animals in his purse.
Right. And
because that's what the first movie was about. It doesn't even take place in England. It takes place in the United States.
Right.
So it's supposed to be a completely separate story, but then they were like, nope, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, that's what always gets to be. And I had this whole rant before, I think it was with you guys, about Better Call Saul, the movie. Which
you did.
I think I cut out last time, so I'm going to say this. I'm going to say it this time. Better Call Saul is a very well done show that I appreciate in many ways, but it suffers from them working so hard to tie in everything they can from Breaking Bad and all the characters from Breaking Bad. And it's like, they could have made 2 shows. They could have made a Breaking Bad prequel about Mike and Gus and those characters, and they could have made a story about Saul, which actually didn't even need to be a prequel. They should have made it a sequel to what happens to him after Breaking Bad, because he survives Breaking Bad. But because they're like, well, we want to bring back everyone we can from Breaking Bad, we want to make it, and these are all great characters, these are all great actors. It's very much, I could watch them read the phone book. But, to get them back requires you to tell this other story that's completely apart from what we really came here to see, which to me is Saul being a sleazy lawyer and running scams and getting into scrapes. That's what I've always wanted to see, and that's hardly anything on Better Call Saul. He's not even Saul Goodman yet. He doesn't go by his name Saul Goodman. He goes by his original name, Jimmy McGill. That's his birth name. He's not
Jimmy McJimmy.
Jimmy McJimmy.
Jimmy McJimmy.
Good Solomon is his original name, oddly enough. No, he's not the character we quote loved ? In Breaking Bad. But he, and that's what's problematic. And the thing is, everyone loves it so much, and it's like, yes, there's a lot to love about the show. It's in many ways as done as well as a prequel can be done, but it's still suffering from the prequel thing, where they're just shoehorning everything in that doesn't need to be there, and it's getting in the way of the story you want to tell. And it sounds like with Harry Potter, I would see a movie about Harry Potter. Or the Harry Potter universe before anything happened. You don't need to work in all these characters that we know. A while back we talked about how it's the origin of Voldemort's snake, and she used to be a lady too. Like, you don't need to do that. You don't need to...
Yeah, you know what I presume... Yeah, I made the joke. You know what I presume the origin of the snake was? Just Voldemort looking at a glass at Petco going, neat!
Exactly.
Yes, as I said before,
I'll take it.
if Voldemort got a female pet snake and then named it Female Snake, that makes sense.
Yes.
And it doesn't need to change.
Exactly. Well, speaking of the Star Wars prequels, when they made those, Gary Kurtz, I think I've mentioned this before, the producer who was he was kind of the old hand in Hollywood. George Lucas was still the young buck. But once Star Wars was a hit, Lucas started saying, yeah, I want to do prequels. Star Wars is episode 4. I want to do episodes 1 through 3 someday. And Gary Kurtz was saying, okay, that's great. His suggestion for the prequels was, we're going to tell the story of the original rise of the Jedi Order thousands of years before any of this happened, with characters that we'd never met before, that none of it would all be completely new to us, other than just the basic idea of the Jedi and everything. That makes so much more sense to me. Just say what happened thousands of years ago. No, we didn't need to see the story of Darth Vader because we already knew everything that was going to happen in the prequels, right? We knew that it's there in a couple of lines of dialogue in the original trilogy. We don't need to know anything more than that. Tell us a story about, where did these Jedi come from? What's the origin of the world of the Jedi? That also has the benefit, by the way, of if they'd done that, one of the problems with the prequels, and some people, people like to, give credit to the prequels as, it's about, you can see how arrogance and destruction and blah, blah, blah. And then that feeds into the new movies with Luke being like, the Jedi were bad and they deserve to die. But they had to make the Jedi lame.
Yes, they deserve to die, and I hope they burn in hell!
Hey, we're Samuel L. Jackson. He was one of them. But that's just it. They had to be incredibly lame and ineffectual for the Empire to rise. It's better to leave that story off screen and let us imagine this apocalyptic conflict. To show it is the Jedi have all the power in the world, but they blew it. The Jedi are so much cooler when it's one or a very small handful of Jedi against the world. And that they could have done that with the prequel as well. That could have been the story they told there. Anyway, so that was, and you know what's ironic? A good prequel in that context is Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Not the best movie in the world either, but I mean it's way better than most of the movies we've been discussing here. And it is technically...
You know what was a better prequel? Just the opening scene to the...
Raiders of the Lost Ark?
To the Last Crusade, where it's okay, here's how he got his hat. That's not even important to know. The guy he got his hat from isn't a major character elsewhere. It's just a fun anecdote.
Yes, exactly. It's not an entire movie about how he got his hat and used a whip for the first time and became afraid of snakes. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
And why he's afraid of snakes.
Literally, for about 2 hours this one day in 1914 or whatever it is, you're going to get everything that defines you when you're on this one train. But,
Okay, but guys, we are off topic.
Yes, anyway.
The topic is that they have made a Harry Potter movie that is all explicitly about monsters, and somehow I could not give a shit about this.
There is that.
The thing that is if there is
you should fucking love this,
if there's a diagram of who the target audience is, I should be in the bullseye of this.
Yeah.
But it's all about Wizard Hitler instead.
My favorite character in Harry Potter was Hagrid, because yes, I can understand him. He likes animals. That's something that I can completely understand his motives.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, exactly. So instead of being the story about a globe-trotting animal collector, a sort of Pokemon trainer of the Wizard universe, I guess.
He's basically a Pokemon master. Yep. Newt is supposed to be a Pokemon master of the Harry Potter
world. And I mean, there's so many original stories you can tell with that, but if they're weaving it right back to this story about Wizard Hitler and how Wizard Hitler failed to do anything particularly
but apparently was going to save us from actual Hitler.
Yeah! Hitler. Can we talk about that? Because the reveal of Johnny Depp Whitler's big plan is he wants to prevent World War II.
Yeah.
Right.
It's gonna be a whole thing, he's on his whole Nietzschean Superman thing there that is hey, we gotta kill a fucking whole bunch of people, but he wants to stop World War II, which makes this kind of the awkward thing there of
yeah.
What?
The heroes are fighting to make sure World War II happens.
Yeah. This is a difficult tightrope to walk.
Yeah.
in terms of story, which just raised the question, why would you write yourself into that corner?
Yeah.
Into that very specific corner.
Yeah.
Especially when it kind of seems like the wizarding world in general tries to stay out of quote-unquote muggle business.
Right.
Like, that seems like the sort of business that they stay the fuck away from.
Okay, but the whole thing of the wizards basically segregating themselves from muggles and staying out of the business is itself kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And not,
that's always...
And it's something that really it's not good to look too into it or think too far into it. Let's just accept it because it's a conceit. Looking to there, it's like, oh yeah, they were like totally fine with Hitler. They were just gonna let it. And the bad guy wanted to interfere with Hitler. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and the that's always been, intentionally or otherwise, both Harry Potter as a character and the whole wizarding milieu of Harry Potter has always really stuck out as, it works really well as a metaphor for elitism, and like, well, there's a secret class of people and they rule everything and you could be one of them. And it's like, yeah, but isn't it bad that there is a secret elite group of, like, they're literally going to a private British boarding school to become masters of the universe. Harry, of course, famously becomes a cop after he graduates.
Because that makes sense.
And
here's the thing. When you look too deeply into it, the Harry Potter world is really shitty.
Yeah, it's
super shitty.
There's no reason for them not to use magic to help, like, the population at whole. The only explanation is that muggles would bother us too much to fix their problems. Which I think, hey, can we have some of that fucking magic root that cures cancer?
Yeah.
Dumbledore, you want to help, you got someone in your potions department who cured AIDS. Do you want to share that with the rest of us?
Yep. It reminds me of...
You can fix broken bones in a day? And you're keeping that to yourself?
Yeah. It reminds me of somebody, I haven't actually read them, but there was the Fred Clark, the blogger, who was analyzing the Left Behind books, and he was going piece, one by one, chapter by chapter. And he talks about how, the subconscious thing with these guys is they figure out that the end of the world is coming and that they're going to be the elite, people who are saved. And they do so little to go out and start to save everyone and tell everyone what's going on. They keep the bad guys' secrets, because the bad guys are working secretly to destroy the world, because they're Satan. But the heroes also work secretly. They don't just come out and go, hey, this guy's Satan, banging a pot and telling everyone, hey, maybe we should try to, embrace Jesus and not the world.
Okay, but in Left Behind, they also do literally fuck all. And
right,
that's part
exactly.
of the thing, because they want the prophecy to come true as well. So it's in that interesting writing thing where, okay, this is a series of, 12 fucking books where the protagonists and antagonists are in complete agreement on their agendas.
Right. And it's because they like the idea. The obvious implication is that you're getting off on, it's great to be part of this secret elite with secret knowledge. That's the part. And that's where I sometimes uncomfortably get reminded of in Harry Potter, where it's like, the thrill is to be part of the secret elite with secret... And yes, there's a narrative thing where, okay, you can't have just had wizards running around. If the whole point is that the hero discovers there are wizards, then it has to be an explanation for why didn't everyone know there were wizards before now. So you have to say, yes, well, they're secret. I always liked the implication...
And J.K. wrote herself into a corner there because she made it a deal that Harry wrote a whole thing on how, the witch burnings weren't a real concern because, witch hunts weren't actually a threat to actual wizards. You can just state that, yes, they were. That is why wizards keep themselves secret, because they absolutely are afraid of being lynched.
Yeah.
That's a legit reason to have a secret society.
Yeah.
And then when you actually imply that, that means that the witch trials killed innocent people, which the wizards and witches could have helped.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you actually just make them look more like dicks.
Yeah. I liked how they characterized, I think it's Ron's dad, he's the, I guess he's the Minister of Muggle Studies, but it comes off as well, look at these Muggles, and he's the expert on Muggles, and he still doesn't really get them, because they're so far apart from Muggles that they don't understand them very well, and that... Which
he's still better at this because he at least acknowledges that they're not sitting around picking their nose all the time, as apparently everyone else believes.
Well, if everyone had been like that,
that they have interesting technology and cultural things that happen that don't occur within the wizarding world.
Yeah, if they had characterized it
he's
that
the
way,
guy
it would be
going
more
around.
forgivable.
Hey, we're still using parchments and fucking quills. The Muggles have this concept called a bic.
Yeah.
Maybe we want to get the fuck on that. It doesn't require any magic or any electricity. We just fucking put ink inside a cylinder rather than use a fucking quail feather.
Yeah. Well, that is a good characterization because that does excuse. If that had been consistent, it would have actually taken care of a lot of it. It's like, well, it's not that they mean us poor or mean us ill or don't bother to help us. It's just they really don't get us. They're so far apart from us that they're still using quill pens they don't understand. That would have worked. But of course, then you've got like Hermione, whose parents are literally Muggles, and Harry, who is raised by Muggles. And it's like, apparently there's a whole bunch of them living with Muggles all the time. So they can't really be that separate from Muggles that they don't get them to this degree.
I mean, truth be told, and I told this to another group of people, but basically if you take all of the major characters from Harry Potter, maybe except for maybe the adults because they all have their own issues, but definitely all the teenage characters, they're all little shits except for two, and the two are Luna and Neville. All the rest of them are little shits.
I kind of like Hermione, but yeah.
Even Hermione has her moments of being a little shit.
Well, Hermione's the only one who goes. Hermione's the only one who goes, hey, should we be keeping slaves? Is that a thing we should be doing?
like, are we supposed to really keep these beings as slaves? Yeah, like, I understand it's, like, their thing, but, like, are we supposed to be doing that?
Yes. Right. The fact that...
And in a world where there's actual magic, where there are actual things of, like, mind control potions and mind-controlled curses, it is a legit open question of whether these things explicitly say that they want to be slaves, if that's actually a real thing. Especially when we see, like, Dobby, against his will, has to corporally punish himself when he goes against his master wishes, even if the master does not know, as if he is, like, cursed to do so.
But yes, anyway, we should wrap it up. Well, Ing, you got any closing thoughts on anime?
It was a mistake, but you should probably watch Neon Genesis Evangelion because it's one of the classics. One of the many classics that everybody should watch.
If you're into especially animation as an art form, or into art or doing comicking or that thing, it's something to look at least as an academic piece.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll wrap this up here then. Just a reminder again, please, why not support us all on our Patreons? All three of us have Patreons, which we will link to below. We are hoping, and I'm sort of throwing this out there at the moment without knowing exactly what's going to happen, but we're hoping that we will have a dedicated site and an RSS feed soon. So we'll be providing that link if you aren't actually watching it there as I speak. Probably not. But we do have, Patreons. If you subscribe to our Patreons, you can hear this show a few days early. We are weekly. We do a Twitch stream as we're doing right this moment, usually on Tuesday nights about 6 o'clock. So you can follow one of us or all of us on Twitter at Prankster36, Ing Dammit, or Avi Viave, and we'll let you know when we're ready to record this, and lots of other fun information that we do. And as always, we want to say thanks to Jack Feerick, who wrote our theme song. We haven't said that in a while, so let's remind everyone that happened. And on that note, let's...
actually, before we go, since we did it before, we do have a pour one out for the passing of Stephen Hillenburg.
Oh, yes.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. Pour one out for Stephen Hillenburg, who died. He was the creator of SpongeBob SquarePants. He was very tragically young. He was 57. I believe it was related to having ALS, unfortunately. Yes. He was great. I haven't seen enough of SpongeBob. I think I'll go watch some SpongeBob tonight. How about that?
At the very least, everyone should watch season 1 of SpongeBob. After that, it's a little touch and go, but definitely watch season 1 of SpongeBob. SpongeBob.
Yes.
And the movie.
Really? Okay.
And the movie, yeah. Because what happened is they did season 1, and then they were contracted to do the movie, so the writing kind of dipped after season 1 because they were using all the good stuff for the movie.
Oh. Wow, was that fast? They did season 1? And then
Season 1's really long, though.
Yeah. Oh, it's one of... Yes, it's a cartoon show, and they'd always do, like, 80 episodes for the first season. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Check. Well, okay, let's all enjoy this. The sponge with the pants that are square.
In a pineapple under the sea.
In a pineapple under the sea. So good night to all of you living in a pineapple under the sea. And we'll see you next week on Destroy All Clickbait. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
先輩どうでした